Good morning. Today is Thursday, the 6th day of Tishrei. Today is actually the yahrzeit of the Rebbe Tzimchana, the Lubavitcher Rebbe's mother. And she passed away in 1964. And she, in the last years, she was here with the Rebbe in New York. She was a very, very special woman. She risked her life to go with her husband, the Rebbe's father, when he was exiled, and she helped him to write his Kabbalistic writings. She had a lot of big merits. And Schusa Yogel Aleinu, may her merit be protecting all of us. We should be able to see her very soon with the coming of Mashiach. So we're holding in the Tanya, in the middle of chapter 20 of Igeret HaKodesh, the 20th letter. And as you saw in the previous few days, we're talking about more Kabbalistic concepts, trying to bring it down a little bit to our level, to be able to understand. We spoke about the difference between the creation, something from nothing, and the evolvement of cause and effect. And the Alter Rebbe focused about the idea of Yeash me'ayin. When you create something from nothing, then the Yeash, the something, does not see any relationship at all to where it's coming from, to its source. And there is many different levels of the Yesh, of what the result comes. There's many different levels you can have. The concept, for example, the body and soul, guf and neshama. So you would think, what is the body? Body is the physical thing. The soul is the spiritual thing. But the idea of the body and soul can be also in more spiritual things itself also. Take, for example, when you have a musician, okay? We have a musician that he writes music. So he plays a beautiful tune. He writes the notes. There is the body of the music, and there is the soul of the music. What is the body of the music? You can hear the different notes, the different sounds. But in it, there is also music itself is spiritual. The sounds are more spiritual. But the sound itself also, there is a soul inside there also. For example, you have music, you play the music, and there is something, a message that you want to give out with the music. There is something deep inside the musician that wants to be expressed through this music. So this concept, the body and soul, can be on many different levels. And the same thing is also in the nullification, that you're nullified to the source. There is also many different levels. So let's use another example. Let's say, we have the neshama, the soul, that makes the body function. Now, every part of the body is one with the soul. For example, let's say you want to move your finger, okay? When you move your finger, how does it move? Who wants to move? The finger wants to move? No. It is the soul wants to move the finger, and the finger automatically moves, because the finger is totally one and nullified to the soul that makes it move. But if you take for a different example, let's say if there is a soldier that is so committed and so devoted and so listens to everything what the commander tells him. He's a real Russian soldier, whatever. Is a commander, whatever the commander says, he's going to do. So when the commander tells the soldier, move your hand, he's going to move it right away. But is it the same way? Is he nullified to the commander like my hand is nullified to my soul? Absolutely not. The commander is one entity. The soldier is another entity. He made a decision to be nullified to his commander, so he moves it right away. But it's him who is moving it. It is he that has his own identity, except he chooses to be nullified to the higher authority. But the hand doesn't have its own, the will of the hand is not its own identity, it's one with the soul. So when we're talking about bringing something from nothing, the question is, at what point does it begin to become a separate entity? Like the soldier is separate from the commander. Is it here in this physical world that we become separate from our Creator? Or is it also in the spiritual world? And this is what the Alter Rebbe is going to say today, that even in the spiritual world, there also, it can be already considered a separate identity. And it's not because it's a bad thing. It's not because they feel separate from Hashem. They can feel one with Hashem, but it is they who feel one with Hashem. And in generally speaking, Alter Rebbe is saying, as we spoke many times, there are the four worlds. There's the world of Atzilus, emanation, world of creation, Bria, the world of formation, Yetzirah, the world of Asiyah. So in the world of Atzilus, over there, it's one. It's like the finger with the soul. It's like one with Hashem. There, that's why it's called Atzilus. It's like with him, it's one, it's only emanation of Hashem. And then in the lower world, there it's going to start the feeling of the separate existence, identifying somewhat itself, and it feels somewhat its own identity. Obviously, many, many different levels. It's much, much, much higher than what we experience. But yet, it is something which feels something of a separate, its own identity. So let's look inside as the Alter Rebbe says this. V'hinei, says the Alter Rebbe, Reishis hayesh hanivra v'tchilosei. Now, ein hakelim, the Yetzfiros, the Bria, Yetzirah, Asiyah. Says the kelim of the 10 sephiros, the kelim is the vessels, like we said, the body. Of the 10 sephiros, the 10 attributes of the 3 lower worlds, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. Vegam ha'oiros, nefesh veruach, and also the lights, the oiros, the nefesh and ruach, they are the first stage and the beginning of the created substantiality, the Yeash. Starting to feeling a Yeash, starting to feeling its own something, its own existence, it begins by the vessels of the 10 spheres of Bria, Yetzirah, Asiyah, Now we said everything has, each world has the light and the vessel. It's like the soul and the body. So he says the vessel is like the body of this spiritual world that definitely feel like a yesh. It's already considered something, its own identity. But not only in the vessel, he says, even in the soul of it, of the body, of this, in the soul, there's different levels of the soul. There is the nefesh, there is the ruach, and there is the neshama. So the different levels of the lights, says the Alter Rebbe, that the lights, which is the two lower ones, the nefesh and the ruach, also they are considered already a created being, something, they have already an identity. And where do they come from? They come from the higher level of the light, which is the neshama of the light. That's what Alter Rebbe continues. V'nivru mebchinas aneshama, the Yud Sfiris, the Bria, Yetzirah, Asiyah. And they are created from the neshama, the level of the neshama of the 10 spheres, the 10 attributes of these three lower worlds, the Bria, Yetzirah, Asiyah, Shehu, Eleikus, and that neshama is divinity, it is godliness. Vehein, and again, we're talking about Kabbalistic terminology, but we're trying to bring it down as much as possible. Says the Alter Rebbe, Vehein alamed kelim the malchus the atzilus. And they are the 30 vessels, the 30 kelim of the malchus of atzilus. What is malchus of atzilus? Malchus is the lowest level of the 10 attributes of the highest world atzilus. In a more common name, it is called the Shechina. We are familiar with the concept of Shechina. Shechina is Hashem's dwelling, when Hashem, God's dwelling. So Malchus of Atzilus has 30 vessels. What is the 30 vessels? So we know that each level has 10 attributes. Now the 10 attributes in the Kabbalah explains that there is the Sof, Toch, and Rosh, Seter, the end, the body, and the head. That's like the head, the body, and the feet. So each level has these 10 made out of 3, which makes it 30 vessels in the level of Malchus of Atzilus. V'chein be'Atzilus, likewise, in the Atzilus, that emanates the Yeash, the existence. It derives from the external aspect of the Kelim of Atzilus. Mechitzonius HaKelim, from the Chitzonius, the external aspect of the 10 Sephiras, the Yud Sephiras, the Atzilus, Shehein Elokus, Nivru Eicholes, the Atzilus. From them, the Eicholes, the chambers, the celestial chambers of Atzilus, was created. Shemislabish b'hem mibchinas igulim, the Yud Sfiris, in which the category of the igulim of the 10 spheres vested itself. Igulim represents the circles, which means encompassing light. Vegam gufos amalochim, the Atzilus, shehein bechinas Yeash. Also, the bodies of the angels of Atzilus, which are a form of Yeash, they are created from the external kelim of the spheres of Atzilus. It is written, and his angels he charges with deficiency. What does that mean? The angels are not in the same way as humans. The neshama of an angel, what is the difference between the soul of an angel and the soul of a human. You can give, just to use an example, just let me just finish this and we'll give the last line and we'll give the example. She says, she'einon b'chinas bitl legamrei ke'olo legabe ilosei. He says, because they are not wholly in a state of nullification as the olo in relation to its ilah. They are created in the manner of Yeash from Ayin. We said yesterday, the olo is the effect. The effect is directly nullified to its cause because the effect feels that it comes from the cause. So it knows that without the cause, it's not here. Without the teacher, the students will not have what he has. The teacher develops in the student a new creation, a new thinking. So the nullification from the effect to the cause is something which exists. It's open nullification. But when it's a creation in a form of yesh me'ayin, something from nothing, being that there is no relationship and no connection whatsoever, then the something will not be able, the created being is not able to comprehend and understand that where it's coming from. And therefore you cannot have this bittul total nullification. But to understand a little bit more, what is the difference between the malachim, the angels, and the bodies, and the neshama of humans, is that the angel, they have, every creation that comes in this world, it comes from a birth that comes as a result of a union, just like a child is born out of a union of a man and woman. There is also, you have physical creations and you have spiritual creations. For example, when there is also a creation that comes as a result of a teaching intellect, a teacher and a student, they get together, his brain connects with his brain, and thereby they create a new understanding in the student. So a new thing is born. Now, what creation is considered a greater creation? Is it physical creation or a spiritual creation? You would think that a spiritual creation is a greater creation. We're talking about great levels of understanding, deep logic. However, when you have the spiritual creation, it is, in a sense, it is an external creation, and whatever is created, that's what it is. You cannot develop more. If you created intellect, of course, within the intellect, you can develop it, you can think one thing leads you to another, but it's all within the realm of thinking, within the realm of intellectual. But when we're talking about a physical creation, even though it seems like it's not the same way, it's not in the same level, it's just physical, but yet this physical has in it the essence of everything, and it can develop. The child can come up with music, become a musician, and become a mathematician, and become spiritual person. All of this is included in that physical creation. And this is the difference between the malachim, the angel. The angels are a spiritual creation. That is why the angels, it says, they are called omdim. They're static. They stand in one place. They're not moving. And the neshama of a person, of humans, is called mehalchim. We are walking. We are constantly walking to greater levels, higher and higher. The malachim, Hashem puts his limits. But at the same time, they are already considered yesh. Obviously, if you want to compare yourself to an angel, You can't. You can't even stand in the place where an angel is. It's so great. It's so spiritual, so holy. But despite all of this holiness, it is all within the level of a Yeash. It is compared to the higher level, which is Hashem. It is Yeash. It's an existence that it has its own identity. And later on, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain how we, the physical beings, have within us the ultimate creation from Hashem, from the very essence of Hashem. And this is the gist of this chapter that the Alter Rebbe wrote, as we said in previous days, right before he passed away. He wrote about the meaning of this physical world. And we should appreciate the greatness of godliness that he invested in this physical world. And therefore the physical mitzvahs, the physical things, what we do in this world is greater than all of the spiritual contemplation and understanding and meditations and so on and so forth. So this is the end of today's shir. I hope we understand a little bit. Again, if we want to discuss it, we can discuss it further. And we'll continue tomorrow further. There's more exciting explanations tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem. So join us tomorrow, 9 o'clock. All the best.